Hello and welcome to episode 121 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three different continents share in one love, and that is video games. My name is Klein Felt, and alongside me today are two of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us a little further across the pond today, it is the digital art daredevil himself, Tom Drew. Tom, how are you? How are things? I understand that you're coming off of a 9-hour flight. 8-hour
Oh,
flight? How
not
long?
as bad as that. Yeah, it was
No.
like 6 or 7. So,
Oh,
it was
nice.
okay. Just a little jaunt, a little walk over, if anything. Yeah, as Klein alluded to, I've flown over to Dubai to see my parents this week. So I'm in an alternate location, expanding the range the Controller Club covers because we're, from three different continents. Now there's another continent in the mix, Asia. Wow, isn't that amazing? But yeah, here, ready to talk about games.
Awesome. Next up, it is everybody's favorite Australian, the Aussie abroad, Canadian in training, mother of some daughters. Emphasis on the otter, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, how are you? You are in a new place. You are no longer in the Airbnb.
Yes, hello. I'm going to coming to you from a new location. This is a basement in Canada, which is apparently very popular here. This is very new to me as an Australian to live in someone's basement, but it sounds worse than it is. Except that right now we don't have internet, so we'll see how well this goes.
Yes, we are like running this podcast on a lit fuse. There's a bomb at
Yeah.
the end, except we do not know how long it is before it goes off. So we will try and keep this as brief as we can, but we did want to come on here and do a podcast because we've got a lot to talk about. Skate is coming back. I'm very excited. The Switch 2 design has seemingly leaked, maybe, possibly, I don't know. And a little later on the show, by way of some time traveling shenanigans, we are going to chat with the developers behind the new kitty-themed platformer indie game available now on Steam, Copycat. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. But before we get to all of that, I want to ask the two of you, what have we been playing over the last week or so? Tom, you have, as you said, taken a bit of a jaunt. You've left your console at home, I'm assuming. So have you been playing anything?
Yeah, so before I left, our New Game Plus game of the month is Star Wars Outlaws. So I've just been grinding away at that, trying to get as much done as I can before we have to talk about it. I've still got, I feel like, a lot to go. I've been to another planet now. I've had the option to go to different planets now, so that's kind of how far I'm into the game. I'll reserve judgment on it, or full thoughts until we talk about it properly. But the main game, because yeah, I was traveling, so I brought my Switch along with me and decided, you know what, let's give this game a go. I've always wanted to try it. I've seen so many videos about it. I love the music, and that's Katamari Damacy. Holy shit, guys. This game is crazy. If you don't know, you probably will know this game, but if you aren't familiar with the name, it's the game where you play as the little green guy and you push a ball and you roll up different items around a pre-designated world and you just try to make your ball as big as possible. But it's just got this weird like whimsy to it. The music's like super like 90s early 2000 inspired like Japanese pop. There's this weird story of like your whole thing is you're rolling all this stuff up to throw into the cosmos to make the stars, the cosmos above you, and like the people down in Japan are like, whoa, the stars, they're coming back, this is amazing. And it's like, I don't know, it's an insane game, but it's so much fun. The controls are kind of weird, but that's kind of part of it. They're kind of like, they are quite finicky, but like that adds to the kind of like challenge of being able to maneuver around and make your ball as big as possible. But it's great. I really like it. I would recommend it to anyone on Switch. It's a great remaster and a lot of fun.
It's one of those games that is like sitting. I've seen it so many times. I know so many people that absolutely love it. The soundtrack comes out on vinyl all the time. It seems like every couple months they're like, "Hey, we've printed more of this because people love the music in that game." It's cool that you're giving it a try because it's so weird. You start, from what I can tell, like rolling up like cats and dogs and trees and like everyday household items, and then you're rolling up by the end of it like literal galaxies
Yeah,
into this ball.
you have become Death Destroyer of Worlds, literally, as a little guy, and it's amazing. It's such a strange little game, but yeah, definitely a good like portable thing to just jump to a level, roll up some stuff, you have your fun. Yeah, bash.
Okay, awesome. Lauren, what have you been playing over the last little bit? I mean, you just moved, so that has been probably consuming your life over the last week or so, but it is a different kind of move because you are living out of suitcases right now. It's not like you had to pack up your entire life. You've already done that. But did you get a chance to play anything over the last week?
Well, yeah, like Tom said, Star Wars Outlaws is a big game, so I'm still chipping away at that. But I did start a new game last night, which you're probably playing as well, Klein. But the Plucky Squire is on my Switch now, and I'm enjoying it. It's kind of exactly what I was expecting. It's a blend of these 2D picture book worlds with a 3D kind of element. Kind of, you're basically playing as a character in a storybook who um, gets kind of outcast from his book and then goes into the world of the person who owns the book, and it's this child, and you get to like run around his desk. And the way that they have integrated the moving between the worlds is really, really clever. I think like their creativity is just so worthy of praise because it's so unique and clever. I think it's still early days for me. I don't know how far have you been playing, Klein?
Yeah, I'm like, I think I don't 100% know because I've actually tried to hold off on like looking to see how many chapters in the game there are. I think I'm like actually right about before the final battle. Like, I think I'm about to
Okay.
finish it.
Okay, you're much further than me. I only have just gotten into, I think, chapter three. So right at the beginning. But I'm finding it really fun to play. However, I think it does have some downsides. I think the idea is solid, but the act of actually moving through the world is sometimes just slow because on paper the concept of like, oh, it's really charming that you turn the page and you're in the next section, but sometimes like you're turning the page every like 30 seconds and then you have to pause and wait as the page turns. So it kind of just breaks up gameplay in that way. And I'm not sure. Like it's never, you're never like waiting in a loading screen for ages. Sometimes you are, but usually between pages it's okay. But that kind of does break up the flow of things, which I think is a little bit cumbersome. Did you find that?
Yeah, I think that on the topic of Plucky Squire, like I think that this game is so charming and endearing and has such a cool style, as you said, but I don't know if it goes much further than that for me. I think that's honestly what's keeping me playing. I wanted this to be, I mean, we've seen it forever, but I wanted this to be like an Astrobot level. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm feeling right now. But I'm not really getting that. It is quite, the gameplay itself is quite simple. It's constantly broken up. I feel like I am like getting stopped in my momentum a lot. Where it's like, oh, I feel like we're at a good pace here, and then now I have to stop and do this thing. I wish the puzzles were almost like a little bit harder. Like it is very much like here's a room with the thing, and it's immediately evident like, oh, I have to do that. There's been one or two I think that I've been really stumped, and so I'm not blown away. I am liking it though. I think it's still good. I think it's worth playing. Especially just because that idea that you're talking about, that 2D to 3D, is so cool. Like it's super early in the game, so it's not a super big spoiler, but like there's a moment where you're like hang or not hang gliding, but zip lining down this thing on the desk, and there's these little like paper triangles that are hung on the line you're zipping, and you're popping in from 3D to 2D just like as you go through these like paper triangles, and it's so cool, and it's got like so many cool different ideas. There's like the boss battles in this are like each one of them is basically like, hey, what if we took this idea from another game, this like unique mechanic, and just like put it in here. Like one of the very early ones is like, let's just do a punch out boss right in the middle of Plucky Squire. And so I think that's really cool, but like a lot of the stuff is very much, here's our idea, you're going to do it this one time, and then we're never going to return to it again. um and so like it's just lacking that like one more step, like just like one more kind of layer for me, I think.
Yeah, I haven't gone through too much of it to know, I guess, I have a whole full handle on the mechanics, but I do think it's really commendable what they've been able to do. This is an Australian studio, gonna shout them out. So love that. And just the creativity to jump between worlds like that, kind of like I guess something like Toy Story or the Lego movie where they're kind of shifting between realities is clever. And I like what I'm experiencing with the story so far. I don't know where it's going to go, but I feel like it's probably going to make me cry. So I'm enjoying that, and I think I want to finish it.
On the story, I have been shocked most by the story itself, just with how invested I am. I knew I was going to like this 2D to 3D thing, this kind of storybook world, but like you have this great British narrator who's like narrating a lot of the events, and it gets really meta like very early on. Like it's so
Yeah.
quickly from the very beginning. It's like, whoa, I didn't realize it was gonna be, and that just continues as the story goes on. And there are a couple of moments that I was like, Gabby, you got to come in here. Like, look what's happening right now. And so like I think that's really cool, and that is honestly what has been keeping me moving. I haven't brushed up against the gameplay really at all. I haven't really ever felt that challenged. I think this would be a fantastic, like, if you have a 12-year-old in the house or like someone who's just getting into gaming, like, hey, here is your first, like, basically top-down Zelda. Like, here you go. I think that is really, really cool. And we don't have enough games like that, especially of this quality. But I'm not conflicted by the game, but like, I was expecting just a little bit more. But it is very good.
Well, I think this is like a great way to prove what they can do. And it's like
Totally.
maybe you get your idea out there, and then if they get a bit more funding for the next one and they make
Mhm.
like say a Plucky Squire 2 or a similar idea with a different character or something, they could really refine any rough edges that they have. And I hope they get the chance to do that.
Yeah, they do a really cool thing with it's not just that storybook art. Like you hop out of the hop out of the book and you're out on the desk and it's all like hyper realistic. But then they like as the game goes on, they start playing around with things of like things from other books around the area making their way like into the other book, and so it's like you're dealing with all these kind of like clashing art styles all at once. And I think like that is it is very, from an art standpoint, it is commendable what they've done here. Like, and the act of actually like jumping out of the book and going back in and constantly doing that, I think is like a fantastic idea. I would love to see what they could do with this, like building on this foundation. Also, just like adorable, like the actual art of like the main character, the Plucky Squire and his whole crew, just so cute. I want a render of me in this art style, like so badly.
It's cute and it's charming in its like way to kind of push comedy. Like right at the beginning, you open the page and it's like, oh, the wizard's playing like really deep bass disco music, and you're like, what?
Because he's a
So it goes at
DJ.
odds. Yeah, it goes at odds sometimes with what you'd expect from like a classic fairy tale, and I love that.
Yeah, or early on, there's like this sequence where Jot, the Plucky Squire, they're not locked to the confines of him looking the same way all the time. Like when you meet the first boss at the very beginning of the game, it cuts to him and his sleeves rip open and he's all of a sudden got these huge biceps and he's just like this like massive like muscle dude who looks nothing like the tiny little cute guy you've been running around as throughout the rest of the game. I think like that's really cool. And I would again like would love to see what they could do with this, kind of like maybe even pushing this idea further forward. So that's what we've been playing. Let's get into the news we choose. Tom Drew, give us that news jingle.
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
We will start with Lauren Rouse, the biggest story of the week, probably. What's going on?
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about PlayStation's hardware over the last few weeks. They have stolen the limelight, but we're back on Switch 2 leaks. This week we had possibly the most promising information come out about what the Switch 2 is going to be like. So I've taken this from VGC, written by Andy Robinson, who said that alleged images of the Nintendo Switch successor console have appeared online, showing a design that's not too similar from the previous console. The images, which appeared on Reddit but were originally sourced from a Chinese social media site, show a device with a larger 8-inch screen, magnetic Joy-Cons, and USB-C ports on both the top and bottom. While the images are unverified, one source who has not seen the final Switch 2 console but has been briefed on Nintendo's plans told BGC that the Reddit images match what the company has told partners to expect from its design. According to today's images, Switch 2 will include 12 gigabytes of RAM compared to the 4 gigabytes of the original Switch, support for HDMI 2.1, and 256 gigabytes of internal storage compared to the 32 gigabytes on the original Switch, which matches an alleged shipping leak from earlier in the year. While the design shown in the images shows similar controllers to the current Switch, there are some notable changes, such as revised SL/SR buttons and front-facing player LEDs. While Nintendo has refrained from making any specific comments about future hardware, when asked about features like backwards compatibility, the company plans to announce its next console during its current fiscal year, which runs until March 31, 2025. And last month, it was claimed that developers had been briefed not to expect Nintendo's next console to launch before April 2025. So this was a pretty significant leak. Pretty much every outlet picked it up, so we can kind of suspect that it's a little bit legitimate. And I want to ask you guys, are we happy if this is what the Switch 2 is going to be? Is this what we want from it? And is there anything you still want to know after these leaks, say it all turns out to be true? Tom, what are you feeling?
Yeah, so if these do turn out to be legitimate specs and designs for the Switch 2, for me, I'm pretty impressed, to be honest. I saw one video that kind of broke it down in terms of the power of this thing, and they were kind of comparing it to like almost similar-ish to the Xbox Series S, which is like a lot beefier than I thought this was going to be. I thought it was going to like maybe skew a bit like lower in power, but if it is matching that kind of thing, I don't think we were expecting like PS5 Pro specs or anything like that with this sort of thing. But I think that is pretty commendable if that's the case. And yeah, I think it's if this, it's interesting, like if this is real, because I have a feeling, I think a lot of people think this too. I think we're going to see this very soon. Like I think we're going to reveal before the end of September. So we'll get proven, if this is real or not very soon. But yeah, I mean, the increased screen is great. More RAM, more storage is perfect. Like honestly, I don't think I could ask for anything else. Maybe some themes, some nice themes, but that's obviously we're not going to find that out.
What do you mean? There was themes on the original Switch, Tom. There was black and white.
Yeah, that's true. We got 2 on the last, so maybe I'm asking for too much here, but no, I think this is really great. So bring it on! I can't wait to see what they do with this in mind, like 4K Mario. Let's go! Let's do it.
So you think that we're going to see it this month, even though it's possibly not coming out till April next year?
I think so. I think Nintendo
You're going to make us wait 6 months.
Yeah, I think Nintendo did that with the Switch. I think that was what their strategy was, and Nintendo has historically always done a September showcase. I think it just makes sense. I don't know what else they can show for the Switch at present. I think they did a developer or a partner showcase fairly recently, so they are winding down on what they're really able to pump out with the Switch lineup. They've juiced this thing to the bone. Like they can't get that much more out of it. So I personally think we're going to see it soon.
Okay. What do you think, Klein?
I think that this is kind of what I was expecting. I had hoped it's some weird part of my brain, and I was probably dumb to think, but like Nintendo traditionally, they've never really stuck to tradition. They like to do the weird things. After the GameCube, they put out this weird TV looking remote and had everything controlled by motion controls, and then they were like, let's put everything on a tablet, and then they did the Switch. So I was kind of hoping that like the Switch 2 would like maybe not deviate too far from the formula, but I don't really know what I was wanting, but something different. Like, could they do something weird? And this is really just like it feels like a bigger and better, more powerful Switch. It really does, for the first time in maybe since the NES to the Super NES, a just true iteration on the last generation's hardware. And you know what? The Switch continues to sell. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time. I was probably stupid to think they would do anything else. The one thing that I'm missing here is, what color are these Joy-Cons going to be at launch? What are we getting? Are we getting a gray like last time and a pink and a blue like last time? Because the pink and the blue was a choice. I did really like them, but it was very interesting and unique. And what's the dock situation? Is my old dock going to work? And am I going to have to buy a new dock? What am I going to be looking at there? What's actually going to come into the box when I buy this thing in March or April of next year? So those are my two biggest questions. I'm impressed actually with how powerful it is. As you said, Tom, people are comparing it to like Series S, and that's more power than I thought we were going to get from Nintendo. Of course, they know how to use these get every bit of juice out of these consoles, out of their consoles. that they can. So I wasn't really like, I'm not itching for 4K Mario. It'd be cool though. I'd like if the Mario game ran, you know? That's the key thing. And I think we're going to get that based off of this. So it's exciting.
Yeah, like you guys say, it's basically, 12 gigabytes up from 4. That's triple the power, um, more than triple the storage space, so that's great. And the only thing I'm missing in this is it doesn't actually say that it's outputting to 4K, but we can assume that, I would think, from what the hardware is.
I don't know if we can. With
No?
Nintendo, I don't know. I bet
Okay.
you I wouldn't be surprised if we get like if they come out and they're like it outputs to 1440 max or something like that.
Mm.
Okay.
If they did it, you know what? Nintendo prove me wrong, right? Like it's in the ball's in your court, but we're talking about Nintendo here.
Yeah, fair enough. I also am, reading that the screen's going to be larger. Switch itself's already pretty hefty. Like, I think it's probably about the right size that it is. Do we want a bigger screen? Because I know the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and things like that have larger screens, but you see people hold them, you're like, that's a beast to hold. Do we want that from the Switch? A bigger screen?
I would like a bigger screen. I think it depends on how, like you said, how heavy it is. Like, I think in terms of weight, the Switch has a good weight to it, although it does feel like sometimes I could just snap it in my hands and like it would just be destroyed forever. So I would like it to maybe feel a bit like, more secure in a way, especially with the Joy-Cons and how that will work. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, I just like having a bigger screen. I think it's just nicer to have portably. Like you said, the Switch does have a good form factor, so there is that like kind of trade-off. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of, like I think it comes down to a weight thing for me personally. Like I'll reserve judgment until then.
Yeah, the other thing I want to know is, are we getting it as an OLED screen again? Because I have an OLED Switch and I love it. And if the next one didn't have that, it would be a bit of a downgrade. And also, how much is it costing? Are we going to be paying PS5 prices? What's going on?
I think that we are not getting OLED. I think it will be a very high quality LED screen, or not LED, LCD screen. Better than the original Switch LCD. There are LCD screens now that do look very good. So I don't think that that's too much of a downgrade. But it's going to be about cost for them. I think that instead of an OLED, they'll do a high quality LCD. I don't think it'll actually be that much bigger with the screen itself, because like the bezels on the original Switch, which I still have, they're pretty gross. they're pretty
They're pretty heavy.
yeah. So I think that's kind of where it'll be screen wise. Price, I've been trying to think. I wouldn't be surprised if it was $499.
I'd probably go a bit low. I'm thinking it's going to be like 400. The original Switch is I think 300 at the moment. So
what did it launch at though?
I think 300. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong,
I don't know
but
what it is here.
I just feel like it wouldn't. I think they want to keep it as close to that original price as possible, while also marking it up because it's the Switch 2, right? So
Yeah, I can't see like an outrageous price rise from them, because I haven't come to expect that from Nintendo. I think they always keep things fairly reasonable. So I don't expect them to suddenly like blow out their price heaps like Sony has done.
The original Switch launched at $299.99, and the OLED is $349.
I would think around $349 or maybe $400.
yeah, I think that's about right. I mean,
Yeah.
we could be wrong. It could be $600.
Did I say $499?
Yeah.
Okay, I meant Gabby from the kitchen said yeah. I meant $400. I meant $399. Yeah.
Okay.
I meant
yeah.
$400. I don't think this is gonna be a
Thank you,
$500 Switch. I wish.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy.
I would
yeah, I think
happily
Better
pay
be
500.
4K.
Yeah.
yeah,
If
exactly.
you're giving me a $500 Switch, we've won. We've done it. Like this thing's gonna
Only
have
if it's worth
two
it.
OLED
Yeah.
screens, and
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Nintendo
There were some
DS2.
people who were wondering if it was, if it was going to do the DS design this time around, have the flip up screen. I'm like, I would be kind of here for that. That's just something different.
I do like the clamshell. The clamshell design is.
It's cool.
I like it. It's cool.
Or
What
like
if they
a
did the
folding one, like the
clamshell-
Samsung Flip.
like horizontally, instead of
Oh, God.
vertically.
No.
You just fold the Switch in half. You don't have to worry about the screen being bigger because you just fold the whole thing in the middle.
I love that. More portable. Take notes, PlayStation.
have it curve a little bit to the iris, like to the lens of your eye, like those curved TVs.
This
We've
is
gone too far.
Here we go.
This is
Okay.
sick.
Let's jump over to me. I think this is gonna be a quick one. Skate is back, guys. We did it. We won. This is it. This is the biggest story of the year. Austin Woods from Games Radar writes, first announced in June 2020, Skate 4, more annoyingly known as just Skate, yes, lowercase with a random irredeemable period at the end, will finally launch in early access in 2025. EA shared the news earlier today with finally ending years of teasers semi-conclusively. That said, playtests for Skate 4, I'm calling it that until it gets a meaningful title, are very much ongoing. Austin Wood, you are doing God's work out here. Thank you very much. Quote, over the last 2 years, the team has welcomed tens of thousands of individual playtesters into the city of San Amsterdam via the PC version, with console playtesting set to come in the fall of 2024, EA says. Players can still sign up to become a skater in a Skate Insider today for a chance to playtest and help shape the future of Skate. A short, still pre-alpha trailer released to mark the occasion shows off, you guessed it, some more skating. The game looks a bit more polished than it did in some previous admirably blocky trailers, but the fact that it's launching in early access is no surprise. I don't really have a question here. I'm just very excited. It's coming out early access 2025, free-to-play Skate. Are you guys interested at all?
Yeah, I am a bit. I think because I mentioned earlier in the year I played a bit of Cyberpunk Bomb Rush, which is like a skating like Cyberpunk game essentially. And I played some Skate 3 in the past. I had a lot of fun with it. I would vibe out to Skate 4. Is this the one that's multiplayer? I can't remember or not. If
this is going to be free to play games as a service. Hang out in San Amsterdam and skate with your friends.
Yeah, so like I'd love to just vibe out, just skating around the city, chilling.
Sure.
Tunes are playing.
Tom, you and me, let's set up at a staircase somewhere and just grind over and over again.
The cool kids in Skate 4. Hell yeah.
I'm much more interested now that I hear that it's free to play. If it was going to be like paying the premium price for a game, I would be like probably pass, but I'm down for skating when it's free. I definitely can't do it in real life, so this is a bit of wish fulfillment.
I'm excited. I think that it's cool that it's a two-sided coin for me. I'm excited that it's coming. First of all, we have a date because it's been sitting for so long. I remember when they announced this and I freaked out, and then they said it was free to play and I was like, okay, like I think that this will be a game that works in free to play. I would personally rather a $70 just like here's Skate 4, here's your career, here's a multiplayer mode, hang out and have fun. But the more as time has gone on, I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit and opened my heart to the world that is free to play gaming. So I'm excited. The early access thing, if it means we get the game sooner, cool. If it means we're just going to get like constant updates, cool. I just hope that it's in a state that it's like I'm not brushing up against the edges of early access like right away, because I will be downloading this on day one, and I hope they have a sound enough foundation for me to have fun in it and continue playing until the next update and then continue playing until the next update, as opposed to kind of hitting my head against the early access wall and going, okay, I'll wait until this is finished.
Yeah, you don't want a case of like, they're just kind of fixing it as it goes along sort of thing. They're trying to figure it out. Yeah. Do you think it's gonna? I can't remember if Skate 3 has this. Do you think they're gonna have like other modes of transport, like scooters or things like that? Do they have that in Skate 3?
No, you have your feet, so you can get off the board. But no, man, it's all about those four wheels and trucks. Yeah, those 10 toes of yours. But yeah, no, you don't. Why would you need any other transport? You can skitch behind a car, I'm pretty sure, by like grabbing onto the back and have it pull you around.
Pretty sick.
What about the soundtrack? What are we looking at here?
Oh, it's gonna be great. The Skate 3 soundtrack had some the thing I appreciated about Skate a little bit more on the soundtrack wise than Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk soundtracks are iconic, but it's a lot of like punk and rap and rock. Skate 3, I remember, was just like all over. We had some punk, we had some old school like new wave from the 80s. We had the like Going Up Country song from like the 60s 70s that's got like the really high pitched voice. Some Neil Diamond was on there. it was an experience. It was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping they keep that. Probably it'll have, I don't know. I'd like one Paramore song, please. Or let me open Spotify in the game and let me make my own soundtrack.
That's got to be coming, right? Like, because one of the great parts about Spider-Man is being able to play Spotify in the background and start swinging. So I think, like, all they would have to do is not even partner with them, but something like that. Have some option to cue your own songs, and I think that would give it massive longevity.
Tom, soundtrack, what do you want? BTS?
BTS.
You want to be skating a smooth like butter?
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yeah, Kylie Rae Jepsen, obviously, she's McQueen. I mean, throw the Mario theme in there. I don't know. Like, you could throw anything in this.
Watch this thing sell if they add Taylor Swift.
Oh my god, that would go crazy. You could play as Taylor Swift in the different eras on the.
When's Taylor Swift going to post Instagram about skate, guys? Come on. That's the next hill we need to be trying to die on.
Yeah. I think the thing that would be cool is if they like EA's got franchises, right? They just throw some like EA stuff in there, you know? I can't think of any EA games right now. But
Unraveled.
Sure. Throw the soundtrack to that in the game. Why not?
Okay. Thanks for indulging me. I'm just excited. We have a date. I will be like, the second they announced this, I was looking for those console playtests sign up. I am ready. If the day they want me in skate in San Amsterdam, I will be there. Tom, our last story of the week, take it away.
Yeah, so Netflix announced a couple of new adaptations of fan favorite video game franchises this week, just after we decided to rank every upcoming video game adaptation. So effectively, that episode is null and void. Just throw it in the bin. Doesn't even matter. It didn't happen at this point. We're just going to have to redo it at some point. But anyway, on top of a new trailer for the upcoming Tomb Raider anime, Netflix debuted a new clip from Arcane Season 2, as well as release dates for the 3 batches of episodes that's releasing under. Did we know these release dates beforehand? I think this is new, right? I think we knew it was like
For
November,
Arcane?
but I think, yeah.
Yeah,
This
was new.
This is new. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, so also revealed was a trailer for an animated Splinter Cell series subtitled Death Watch, an animated Devil May Cry show from Castlevania's Adi Shankar and X-Men 97 / My Adventure with Superman animators Studio Mer, and the confirmation of the new show in the Cyberpunk universe is coming, which will also be animated. So yeah, they just dropped a bunch of stuff, ruined our plans. I'm upset, to be honest, but I'm also excited. This is a lot of cool stuff. What was our favorite thing here? What do we like from these announcements? Klein, what was your biggest takeaway from this?
I'll let Lauren talk about the boxing match that
Sure.
happened.
Yeah, sure.
So Lauren can have the Arcane talk here. Honestly, for me, I think this Devil May Cry series looks sick. I have no history with the franchise at all, other than it is like really cool, and the main character's 2 guns are named Ebony and Ivory. But like, this looked awesome. I love Adi Shankar. I love the Castlevania series. I'm so in. You know what? Let's just do it right now. S tier on the hype ranking. It's going there. It has to.
Yeah, should we rank our hype now?
I guess we can. Yeah, I think the Devil May Cry would be S tier for me too. I mean, I only watched the first 2 seasons of Castlevania, but what I saw I really liked. Yeah, I like you. I haven't played DMC. I love the song Devil Trigger from the 5th game. That song's awesome. So that is just all it's going for me for the show. But like, it looks sick. And the fact that the Studio Mer's involved, yeah, it's an S tier.
All right. Well, we all know what I want to talk about.
Haley Steinfeld.
I was watching this live because why not? And I think I distinctly remember as the Arcane trailer came on, I think something happened and I typed something and I looked back on Twitter. I had just written send help. And I deleted that later because I was like, what were you doing? But yeah, it was a little bit awesome. But
it was a little bit awesome. Put it on the box. There it is. There's your poll quote, Netflix.
Yeah, look, Arcane was already S tier for us. We know that it's going to be great. I think this just sort of reiterated that we have a really great season coming. I liked seeing that they're doing the 3-part drop again. So they're doing November 9, November 16 or 17, and then November 23 will be the last act that is dropping, so we can expect that again. I assume maybe 9 episodes again, but we don't know for sure. So that's very exciting. Look forward to. I'll probably make us review it every week. That's happening. So get ready for that, viewers, listeners, and viewers. We have viewers now. In terms of the other things that are here, I would be interested to watch Devil May Cry just because I haven't played the game. Would like a new way of experiencing it. And the Cyberpunk thing is interesting because we already had Cyberpunk Edge Runners. So I just sort of want to know what this other spin-off that is also animated is going to be, and is it going to be a different kind of animation? Are they doing anime again? It's fascinating to me, but I think Edge Runners proved that they had a solid property there, a great foundation to draw from, so that explains why they would want to go back and dip from that well again.
Maybe they should go and knock on Ardman's door, and it should be a claymation stop-motion Cyberpunk TV series.
If they could do that well, it would be awesome.
I was gonna say, because like Studio Trigger like is one of the most renowned anime studios ever.
Oh, yeah.
They did Edge Runners, and so it's like so hard to top them. But maybe Aardman could do it. Like, that would be crazy. Like the amount of Adam
Some Wallace and
Smashes in
Gromit
Aardman
looking.
style. Yeah, he like
They run out of clay.
Oh my god! Yeah, just trying to make the city.
Little penguin
God.
shows up with a weird thing, a rooster thing on his head, and it pulls out the swords out of his arms.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Like, because some people are saying it's an anime, but I didn't see any kind of confirmation about that. I'm just I think Cyberpunk. Like you guys kind of said, like it's so there's so much you can draw from. So I wonder like what direction they could take with this. Maybe like focus it more on the Aldecaldos. I don't think we got much of them in Edge Runners. So maybe we could see a bit more of what they're getting up to in like an animated space. But yeah, I think it will come down to what studio they pick. That gets me like super excited because Trigger set a very high bar with Edge Runners.
What if it was in the style of Arcane? Like that'd be a unique, different animation style that they could do.
Everything
more
would be good in the style of Arcane.
Okay, sure.
Fortitia's
Wallace and Gromit in the style of Arcane.
Fortitia's done something. They're going to be the busiest studio in the history of studios in the next few years.
I love it. Plenty of things to play, plenty of things to watch coming up, but that's going to do it for the news we choose this week. Let's take a bit of a break and get into the Copycat interview. Tom, give us that outro.
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
Welcome to a very exciting new segment on Controller Club. This is our first developer interview, and I'm so thrilled that it is with friends of the show and my close and personal friends, Sam Cable and Kostya Liakov from Spoonful of Wonder. We're so excited to have you guys. I know this has been a long time coming, and you guys have supported us on Controller Club from the beginning, so we really appreciate that, and we're looking forward to being able to chat about your wonderful game, Copycat. But I want to start by asking you guys just to introduce yourselves, talk about what your role is, and tell us your game of the year so far.
All right, game of the year. I'll start with the introduction. So, hi guys, and thank you to begin with. Thank you for having us. We are very, very excited to be here. We love your podcast and been religiously watching it and listening to it over the years. My name is Kostya, and I am a head of art of Spoonful of Wonder.
And my name's Sam. I'm head of narrative, and we've both been on this journey for the last couple of years, and we're so excited. It's kind of like come into fruition finally.
Yeah, game of the year so far. That's a hard one because when you're developing one, you pretty much don't really have much time to play them. Do you have one in mind?
I think, well, we've been doing the Life is Strange series this whole year. So I'm excited for the new Life is Strange that's coming out in October. So yes, I'm very excited about that, yeah.
And we had very good time with Until Then, the little narrative-driven game that's beautiful story, very fun little gameplay.
It's set in Malaysia, which we didn't know before we started. And now we're in Malaysia for a couple of weeks.
That's so cool. I'm definitely excited about the Life is Strange new one as well. I know that I've talked Klein and Tom's ear off it. It's on my Fantasy Critic League now, so watch out. It needs to get 100% on Metacritic. So you guys at Spoonful of Wonder, you just published your very first game. It's an indie called Copycat, and it released on September 19 worldwide on Steam. You can go and buy it and play it right now. In fact, we would like you to go buy and play it right now. Copycat is a narrative-driven game where you play as a newly adopted cat named Dawn, and on your journey as Dawn, you experience a variety of different homes until you come to understand what the true meaning of home is, or at least that was my summation of it. I know you guys have said that 1,000 times at different events and stuff, so I thought I'd take it off your shoulders for once. But we three have been lucky to experience Copycat in one way or another. And, you know, I was lucky to sort of see this project from years ago and sort of follow along with you guys. It's been a great journey. But for Klein and Tom, before we get into the interview, I just wanted to ask you guys what your overall thoughts of Copycat were from the player perspective.
I mean, well, it's on Steam at the moment, and like Lauren said, you should get it. I haven't been able to play it because I'm not a PC gamer, but I have seen some of the footage that you guys provided, and from my just kind of impressions of the game, I was kind of blown away. I think from both, obviously, you guys heading art and narrative. I think from like a story perspective, I was really like drawn in by this story, like quite unexpectedly. It took a very different approach to where, like, because you're controlling this cat, and I was like, how is this going to work in terms of making that the protagonist? And you really delved into a lot of themes that I wasn't expecting, and like drew on like connections with just cat lore, I guess, that I thought were just really smart and clever. And then just from an art perspective as well, I was just it's gorgeous to look at. I think I've been watching some of your devlogs and of when you guys started and the inspirations, and I think it's so impressive to see where it was from then to now. I think like the colors and the lighting, especially. There are some moments of the lighting, I won't spoil them. I was particularly towards the end, I thought were just really impressive. So yeah, from what I saw of it, really loved it, and I can't wait to play it fully and experience this, with a controller in my hands at some point.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
I have played it. I have finished it. And guys, like I know that, take it with a grain of salt, because you guys have been like good supporters of the podcast for a long time and friends of the show and all of that. But like I was genuinely like flabbergasted with the experience that I got from this. It's a delightful, just like 3-hour jaunt. It really made me feel like the ending, I won't spoil it, but like you really like hammer home the theme of the game, and I was kind of at a loss for words, and it was very, very touching. It kind of went in a bit of a different direction than I thought it was going to. And you might see it and see this kind of like maybe a simple coat of paint or what have you, but it goes so much deeper than just looks, and it gets so, just like that first impression, there's so much more to it than that. Like the moment at the beginning of the game where you are deciding on what cat you want to be, and you get into the house and you're knocking things off tables, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, and then it really starts to like open up, and I'm like dreaming of being a wild cat and going through these like emotional hurdles as I'm doing that, and like it was splendid. I think it's one of my favorite indie games I've played this year. I think that it's hard to really, I can't really see anyone like not enjoying it. It really does a good job of combining this walking simulator almost, like What Remains of Edith Finch or something like that, with like genuine platforming action, making it a little more involved, a little more active than some of those fairly narrative driven experiences. And yeah, I had so much fun. I modeled my cat after Jack the cat that's at my parents' house right now that we kind of grew up with, and it looked just like her. And so, and she is a wild cat. She is a go outside in the morning, come home at night, and you think about what sort of adventures is she going on. And playing this game really like gave me this like fantasy of living a day in the life of Jack the cat, being out and running in front of cars and going to stealing food from the picnic and doing all this fun stuff. And you guys deserve all the flowers you're gonna get, is what I'll say, because it is just a delightful game, and just a little slice of positivity and like hope that we like really need in this world right now.
Thanks, Klein.
You make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Okay, good.
That's what your game does. Thanks, guys. I wanted to do that because I think it's so rare that we get the opportunity to talk to the people that actually made a game that we love. And also, I think, people who have played the game will always sum it up the best. So that's great. But speaking of sort of the reception to Copycat, I wanted to start by asking Sam and Kostya, like, how has the reception been since you launched last week?
It's been great. So far, we've been getting positive reviews. We've been getting people excited on social media. So we've been very stoked with how our game has been received.
Yeah, we had a couple of really lovely comments. Someone said it made them want to go out and adopt a pet, and I think they did. We've just had a lot of love come through of people that love animals, but we were I guess we were always expecting that the cat community would hopefully gel with the game, but it's taken a bit wider to all animal lovers.
That's so good. And that picture you posted when you were like up there with God of War Ragnarok, that was insane. How cool was that?
Yeah, when I saw that I think it was there for like a couple of days, because we launched on Thursday and like no new games release on Steam on weekends. So I think we're still on that was new and trending section, not the top position anymore, but it's still there, and like I'm really excited about it. That's it means a lot.
And also to actually get this far is huge. Like there's so many games out there that you start with the best of intentions, but to actually get over the finish line, that's the proudest thing for us to be here and have created a full product. And if people enjoy it at the end of the day, that's a bonus for us.
Just to finish it.
Kratos who, am I right? Who needs him? That's what I'm saying.
When's the Copycat God of War crossover going to happen?
Maybe he adopts a cat in the next one.
Yes, there we go. There we go. I kind of wanted to ask you guys, like, as you mentioned, you got over the finish line. This has been a process. It's been a few years of your life. This is your first time doing this, right? Like, this is the two of you. This is your first. What made you decide that, like, this is what I want to do? What made the two of you decide, hey, like, let's drop whatever we're doing and make a game? Because it sounds like a crazy proposition.
Yeah, it is for sure. We've always worked as a creative team together. So Kostya always did the art and the direction, and I wrote the stories. And we've tinkered in a couple of different genres. We tried our hands at a kids' book. We worked in commercial advertising for many years. We did a couple of short films, and we decided that we wanted to try a hand at games. We've always really loved games, and we thought it would be a good match.
What inspired this game? What was it about this particular story? Was there a dawn in your life that inspired the story of Copycat, or was it the experience of someone you knew? Like, what made you land on kind of this as the thing that was going to push you forward for the, as you said, years of your life?
Kostya, what is your background in terms of favorite games? You love shooters, don't you?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Ukraine, and as you play Counter-Strike when you're born and raised in Ukraine. So I can, from a very different background, I used to play like first-person shooters and love stealth games and more for like an action-driven experiences.
Whereas I grew up with Pokemon, and so our middle ground when we were coming up with the idea had to be an animal protagonist.
So are you saying the Copycat is the Pokemon and Counter-Strike together?
And growing up, I always had many cats. It was like such an important part of our childhood, going to the RSPCA, going to the pet shelter, picking out the animal, and having that animal fall in love with you, and you fall in love with that animal over the course of a couple of weeks. They're really scared in the corner of your room, and you really want to connect. And I think that was the flavor of the game we wanted to give. We wanted people to not underestimate the animal owner bond. We wanted that to be really special.
Yeah, and the way that gameplay of the game works, I think that's something that we're hoping to do and keep doing. Is the story, the narrative is driving the gameplay in our case. and we pretty much write the story first, and then we think, like, we had an ideas of the characters and kind of like what genre it would be, but more detailed elements of the gameplay were driven by the narrative, and that's what we really enjoyed doing, because we didn't have to like restrain ourselves to one particular genre or mechanic, and we just always try to improvise, to see what works best for the story. If it's like a side scroller kind of section, then be it. If it's a little bit of a temple run fun as well, that's an option as well. And
Loved the Temple Run call out in there. Immediately, I was like, "Oh, these folks have played Temple Run before."
and we channeled a lot of our favorite games, as Sam mentioned. Life is Strange, that emotional roller coaster, inspiration visually from games like Firewatch, a little bit of Edith Finch. If you play the game, there is a little bit of narration going on that's kind of inspired by the Stanley Parable. So trying to bring things we love in games together into this one.
And we had a lot of like boundaries. So for example, because this is our first game and Kostya didn't know how to code, we decided like we would build it inside a house. Like most of the story was going to happen inside a house where we had 4 walls. And so we almost started like coming up with the story at the same time as as the challenges that we were going to face.
Yeah, we had to keep the scope realistic, like, because there are 2 of us and we didn't want to take like 15 years to make it. So lots of it was driven by, things you can tell in smaller kind of sections and areas and locations.
Well, like you said, you guys are, the 2-person team. You basically oversaw pretty much everything. What was some of your kind of favorite aspects of handling the game, both from a art perspective and a narrative perspective? Like, what were your favorite things to work on over the development process?
I found myself really enjoying level design and like making the locations and trying to tell the story through the location, through the scene, like, the lighting, the colors, the camera angles, and everything you can find around the house. I really enjoyed adding this like little details that are, some people may miss, but if you are one of the players who like exploration and like going to like every single corner and reading little text, I think I enjoyed the way of bringing the story to life using those little level design elements. That was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, environmental storytelling, hey? We were able to see it in things like a sorry for your loss card or some photos of Olive's partner, or even the legend that there was a cat previously in the house with some claw marks up a couch. So those little things, although they're not like macro story beats, they really helped tell their story in the moment.
Well, just on that, because Sam, you and I have obviously, for context for the listeners and the viewers, Sam and I met after we went to university together. We're in different cohorts, but we both studied screenwriting, and so we've kind of been bonded by writing over the years, and have like read each other's work, and I've of course like followed you guys on this journey. But so I remember when we had our writers group and Sam came in and said, "Oh, we're making a video game," and I'm like one of the only gamers in this group of writers, and I'm like, "What the hell? You're making a game?" And I was immediately like, "Sign me up for anything." It was very exciting day. So I've been like lucky to sort of see from like a sort of adjacent perspective how this has come together. But Sam, for you, what have you sort of learned from this process that's changed like how you've approached story as a writer, like from writing a video game?
We were so lucky in the beginning that we had so many wonderful people read the script. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is that you can't do it all in one go. It's very, every new iteration, the script will keep getting better and better. And having you read it and like beating out the story, 3 years ago to where it is now, it's really grown and blossomed.
Did you learn anything like in terms of how like narrative impacts gameplay mechanics and things like that, and how that kind of relationship influences each other?
We were able to do certain scenes that were a little bit more story focused and some scenes that were a little bit more gameplay focused.
yeah, it's hard to tell the story. It's harder, or it's different from film in a way that player has way more agency, I guess, in the game. It's like you can't just have one big cutscene and it just becomes a movie, right? So there you have to account for so many things that you take for granted in the world of film. When you can exactly edit the camera angles and everything the way you want in a film. In a game, if player just wants to go in a room and like jump into the wall for 10 minutes, they can, right? So you have to account your story bits, and you have to account for everything to still work. So that was a bit of an adjustment, right?
Yeah, they say like in film, you have to show the audience the story. In theatre, you tell the audience the story, but in video games, you guide the audience. You are the one that's showing them where to go, but it's ultimately up to them whether if they want to do that. We've also noticed that people, because the protagonist in games tends to have a bigger reflection on people's self because they play the story. Sometimes people don't want to go on an emotional journey. I think that's something we've learned in our game as well. We were giving people really difficult choices whether to like bite or scratch the older Australian in our story, Olive, or whether they were to like hunt a mother bird or hunt a baby bird, things that we thought were going to be challenging for them. People have given us feedback and said that that's not their favourite part of the story because they didn't want to be, lured into doing something that they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, and I think it's because the game itself, as we describe it, is a very emotional and heartfelt narrative that's disguised as a little cat game. And I think some people expect, cute cat action, and then they just hit by this heavy narrative train, and it just sometimes was unexpected. But yeah, we hope that people find it cathartic and enjoy the experience when they finish it.
Do you have now that you've done it once before? Do you have any advice for if somebody, like if one of us were to sit down and go, we want to do this? What advice do you have for like an indie dev wanting to do this for the first time?
Yeah, go for it. It's just been the best thing possible that has happened to us.
Yeah, find someone you trust 100%. Find a partner. If you can go solo, but if you have a partner to like bounce ideas off, that helps a lot. Even if there's just two of you, you don't have to end up with like overthinking certain ideas. You can always run them past each other. Like having a good partner you trust was a big deal. And yeah, some said go for it. Like these days, the entry level is like it's so much easier to enter the industry because of tutorials, because of so many tools available. It's like, as we said, we had no idea what we were doing when we started. That was like first time I downloaded Unity, and I was like, all right, where do I click here? It's like like over couple of years we did hours and hours and days of YouTube tutorials and reading and like uh, annoying people on Reddit. Probably there's been a very big journey towards like kind of us figuring out how to do. So yeah, we learned on the job.
Yeah, another thing as well is find yourself a mentor. It doesn't have to be a mentor in the game world. It could be, a screenwriting mentor or someone that's going to mentor you in terms of direction or art, but just someone who will always be your cheerleader, someone that's always going to challenge you, but ultimately make sure that, you're getting the guidance you need in a very diverse world of video games.
How, just to like put it into perspective, how far back does Copycat go? Like how long was this process? What do you remember what the day was when you both turned to each other and said, let's do this? Like let's make a video game? Like what's the timeline look like? Because here we are in September 2024, the game is out, but how far back does it go?
Yeah, we do a lot of hiking, and I think the story always appears when we're on a hike on the third day and it's raining and we're really grumpy and we're like trudging through. And then you start to just talk about stories, and I think all our best stories have come from those sort of experiences.
Yeah, it's been you have something to talk about for 8 hours. So, and I think it was just post-COVID. Lots of things changed in our life. We moved out of our apartment. Our day jobs went remote, and we were just like in between things and looking to our next project. We just finished a little kids book, and we finished the animated short film. And we were like, okay, well, we did a kids book. We did some experience with like 3D animation. What's next? And then yeah, kind of games. We like games. Game would be fun.
Yeah.
Like, how hard can it be?
We
It's hard.
wanted to tell a story about home. That thematic was really important to us, as we both, have varying shades with it. Like growing up, we moved between New Zealand and Australia a couple of times. Every year we, found a different school and resettled in. And so my notion of home is always very fleeting.
Yeah, and for me, home is something I cannot currently access because I was born in Ukraine and my family is still there. And unfortunately, I cannot go back to my home country right now. So that made me reflect and reflect on it quite a lot.
Yeah, so we've got a manifesto 3/4 of the way through the game that talks about home. It's like a big ode to what home is, and ultimately we want people to realise it's not about, home can change over the course of many years, but it's ultimately where you're needed, and that's home for you.
Yeah, so from the devlog you guys have been updating over the years, you started that in 2021, and in that first one, I think you guys talked about like hopefully we can release it that year. Obviously now it's
That was naive.
2024.
That was so naive. That's crazy. We started in March 2021. And we were like, yeah, we'll be done by December.
To be fair, we were inspired by Florence, and Florence was 45 minutes, and we thought, okay, we can make a short 45-minute game.
That's true. Actually, the scope grew a lot, and after a few months, we're like, hey, okay, it's gonna be full 3D game now, and humans, and we want to be fully voiced, and like the scope grew. We tried our best to avoid unnecessary scope creep for the game. But yeah, we started 2021 as a part-time job kind of thing. So we did it only in the evenings after work because we had a full-time job there. We did it on weekends as hobby. And as we kind of were progressing with the game, as it started taking shape, we started believing in it more and more. And eventually we applied for funding from our government body, Screen Australia, and we were granted the funding to finish the development. And that happened about a year and a half ago, and that allowed us to go full-time with the game. So we resigned from our lovely jobs, which we miss a lot, but we wanted to give all our love and time to Copycat. So it's been like 2 years maybe, or a year and a half part-time and year and a half full-time now.
Yeah, and the funding also meant we were able to pay our collaborators, people that we'd worked for and worked with in the short film world, that we could finally be like, yeah, we've got money now. So it was a fantastic opportunity to then go through our actors and pay our actors and go through the recording process over 3 days. I think that was the biggest highlight for me, just seeing it all come together and all the voices finally come together.
Well, I was going to ask about that because, yeah, the voice actors in this game are the friends of ours, Stephanie Begg and David Malloy. David does the voice of the narrator, the David Attenborough style voice.
He's so good.
And Steph actually does the voice of Olive and May, am I correct?
Just May.
She actually did Olive for like our prototype.
A reading.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Impressive. Who voices Olive?
Emily. She's our good friend. She comes from the theatre world, Emily Pollard, and she's been working with us for the last early days. We did theatre together over the last 10 years, and she's kind of made her video game debut.
Yeah, perfect. So it is still like, yeah, all close friends of yours, which is great. But what was, like you said, you did the voice recording over 3 days. I remember when you guys were doing that, you said you basically had how many lines of dialogue to get through in like a short time?
It was about 10,000 words, yeah. And then half of those were voiced and half of those appeared on the screen.
Okay, yeah. And so, did you have many like takes with the actors, or were you able to give them much direction, or was it all kind of like quite like forceful in the time that you had?
Absolutely loved it. It was such a good experience. We had to be really organized going in. So all our scripts were laid out instead of between conversations between different talent. It was all their lines, one after another in each of these scenes. And so we would start by recapping the scene. We would show our voice actors either what the scene looked like on the computer, or we did a bit of a synopsis for each of those beats. And then they would go through, deliver the lines. We'd probably do 3 versions of each delivery, and then we would circle which one we wanted, and we were able to work with the audio engineer to bring it all to life. There was the challenge that we didn't have the voice actors in the same room. They came at different times, and that's because that it was tricky to get all the talent in the same room at once. But we were able to listen back to takes, and then if they had a conversation, we were able to like paste the whole picture. And on top of doing all that, Costi would be running around in the background recording all these behind the scenes for us.
Our socials, yay.
We were also brought in our composer, and he worked with Emily to create the melody that you hear that becomes a bit of a motif throughout the game.
I was going to quickly just mention about the acting. We have one of the actors here in the podcast. That was a little jarring. Lauren Rouse makes her video game voice acting debut with a very short cameo if you do play Copycat. When it happened, I was delighted, of course, but it was a little jarring. I was like, that's Lauren's voice coming out of that digital body. That's weird.
Yeah, I was stoked to be asked to do a small part.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have Lauren on board.
So are we.
No, it's a career highlight for me. I loved it.
You guys mentioned your composer. Is it Daniel Bunting who did the music for this?
Yeah.
How was that process?
Yeah, that was amazing. Dan is such a talented composer. We're so lucky to have him. It was the very first game for Dan, and he went like above and beyond with it. He pretty much learned F-mod from scratch and learned, not like, in film you write music to like the footage and everything always hits the right beat. In the game, as we said before, there are too many inputs, so he pretty much made the whole soundtrack modular and reactive to players' actions, and he added so much life to it. Like, the little actions can affect little instruments, like your proximity to points of interest can increase the volume of certain levels. It was so special to see it come to life with Dan. And
yeah, he worked on our short film previously as well, and one of the things that we were attracted, he also went to Afters. One of the things that attracted us to his work is his emotional journey that he can take listeners on. And so what he did on top of all the technical things, he was also telling different melodies based on different characters, so they all had their motif, and then when 2 characters were brought together, those melodies would weave together, or when Dawn and Olive comes together at the end, they have a melody that weaves together. So there's a big journey. He was on this journey with us for about 1.5 years. He said it was compared to writing music for a feature film script. It was a big undertaking, and we're so lucky to have him.
Did you have to give him did you go to him and like, we want you to, here are some more ideas, go crazy with it? Or were you quite involved in like how this is going to sound? Like, because you have these kind of different, like jazzy kind of themes in the game, and then also kind of like tribal aspects to it with some aspects of the wildcat sequences and that sort of thing. So how involved in that process were you guys?
I think we trusted Dan 100% with his creative direction and with his music. What we did from our side is we stayed close and communicated with Dan to make sure that story and our intention came across well in the music, because we started like writing and working on the music way before the game was finished. And I think when we talked to Dan for the first time, I think we probably had maybe like 20% of the game done. The rest was like in the script and storyboards. So we had to have like spent a lot of time talking together about how we see it, what we envision it to be. Like, it would have been easier if the whole game was finished and we had enough time to give the entire game to Dan for him to play, enjoy, and like experience it before he started with the music. But it was not the case with our timeline, so we had to improvise a little bit.
And Dan doesn't really play video games either. So this was his first like game, and since then he's bought a PlayStation.
We love that. We love
Got
convincing
another.
people.
We won him over.
I was just going to ask quickly about the character animations, because I know, Sam, I've seen your mocap suit. Can you talk a bit about how you animated all of those things?
Yeah, that was an experience and a half. We got a motion capture suit. It's not the very expensive one.
It's a human one, not a cat one.
Yeah, the cats we didn't even consider. That would be too much, and I don't think our cat would agree with the task.
He did play the voiceover though.
Yes.
For the cat. All his meowing was him.
Yeah, but the human motion capture was done in-house by us. And yeah, it's been fun to learn something new. Like, there was also not a skill we had before. So, you think you just jump in a motion capture suit, do some things, and it's ready to go. But there was a lot of post work on that. You had to clean up the motion. You have to make sure, items align, because you don't have like your setup in the room that matches your virtual scene. So you need to make sure the heights of objects, the reach was always the same. So there was a lot of cleanup on motion capture, but overall, I think we're very excited with how it came to life. Sam did a beautiful job in the suit.
In terms of like the performative side of things, even coming from a theater background, like a motion capture suit is so different because it's not all about the gesture, but it's about holding your position the same all the way throughout the 6 months that we animated Olive. I think she had a sore hip on one side, and then halfway through she had a sore hip on the other. So there were a couple of mistakes that didn't, maybe we could have improved on. But it was also imagining where chairs would be. So it was less work for Kostya to animate, or when there's two characters in the scene, trying to remember what the other character did and patching the other character in space so they would both tell a bit of a story together.
Yeah, for the cat placeholder, we used Sam's plushie Vaporeon. That was our cat placeholder.
So every time she bent down. Another fun fact as well is Olive had a lot of scenes where she was bending down talking with the cat, because that's how I wrote it and that's how it should be. But Kostya found out that it's very difficult to have Olive sitting on the ground.
Yes, kind of a bit geeking out about it, but like on inertia-based motion capture suits, the global positioning is not perfect, so it doesn't have like a cameras or anything. It's pretty much just tracks your joints compared to your other joints. And if none of your feet are touching the floor properly, your character just like flies into the space
away.
And so we had to adjust a lot, but like to make sure at least one of the feet is always on the floor to kind of like make it manageable. That's why you may see some interesting seating poses in the game every now and then.
Do you have any other fun, notable, like, I don't know, silly dev stories like that, where as you're making the game, any crazy, I'm sure there's lots of crazy bugs happening every single day, and it's just a process of covering up the ones you can and hoping for the best. But was there anything else like that that maybe was a bit more of a challenge and you you couldn't figure out?
Yeah, there was one big learning. It's kind of two learnings in one. One is like always make backups as often as possible. Do Git or do like clouds or even good old hard drive, just backup like every day. Because about a year ago when we were at PAX in Melbourne, we were showcasing the game. And on day one, noticed like little tiny bug in the demo and like, I can totally fix it at night before the next day, right? And like, it's just like little collider. People can get stuck in there. It's like not the expected behavior. So we're just gonna, very small amount. I'll super tired, I'll wake up at 6 a.m. Like it's half an hour, just build the game ready for day 2. And I think the rest of the morning of the story comes more interesting from your perspective.
Oh yeah, I woke up, I had a lovely sleep. It was so peaceful. And then I get a knock at the door and Kostia's like, "Can you make me breakfast?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's an odd thing to say. Is everything okay?" And he's like, "The game is falling apart. I need food."
The game's broke. I turn on my computer, everything in the game is
Pink.
So
Everything is pink.
Yeah, so the renderer asset completely went south for some reason. And then my whole computer just, like my keyboard and my mouse stopped working. I tried to restart it, turn it off and turn it on. I can't log into Windows because my webcam's not working for facial recognition, keyboard's not working, mouse not working, nothing responds. So there is me, 6 a.m. in the morning of the second day of PAX, like hectically sitting there reinstalling the whole Windows. That was that was stressful morning. Thank you so much for being there.
I made the breakfast, but it was very helpful.
And because that was the laptop we were running our demo on during PAX. Luckily, managed to reinstall. I think we just lost maybe like 3 days of work or something like that. Not super significant, but since then been back up heavy.
Yeah, but PAX was amazing. We had people, like parents with their 6-year-old kid playing, and then we would have, a 60-year-old guy with like tattoos and piercings, and like all these bikies come play the game straight afterwards. And it was amazing to see the various souls that were just attracted to a cat game. It was really humbling.
The game is set in Australia. You have Australian actors in it. How did you know how Australian to take the game? Like, how did you know when to okay, we're gonna obviously it's gonna be set in Australia and stuff, but when are we gonna be like, okay, we won't reference the drop bears, but we still wanted to have those kind of Australian landmarks and that sort of thing. How did you? Was that ever consideration in writing this or designing it?
It's a good question. Like from design, it kind of came naturally just because all the references and all the things we were designing just were based on things we know. So it's like you need to make the rubbish bin, the plastic one of the garbage bins. Like you just make them the way they are, like with red and yellow leads for recycle and general. You just like channel your pretty much life experience and what you know. And because we are based in Australia, lots of our knowledge was like kind of taken from our real life. So visually, that's what made it kind of natural to make, because you just make what you see, because like the game's not based in sci-fi universe, it's like a real world, real time. So if you need the reference, just go outside, look at it and design it. So that's been the process visually.
You also made all the PowerPoints in the house, Australian plugs. Costi was very specific about that. I said we didn't have time to do that, but we wanted to.
I think for to save a little bit of time, we got a few assets from the asset store, like for the furniture and stuff, so we don't have to design and spend the next 10 years designing them manually. And the PowerPoints were I think they were American, and I was like, this is unacceptable. So I was just sitting there redrawing the PowerPoint textures to make them look Australian. Sam was like, no one's even gonna notice it. I was like, I know it's there.
It was an ode to Australia. From a writing point of view, it was interesting. We actually went very Aussie in earlier drafts. We had things like referencing to home brand food, certain things that we knew what it was, but when we started to take the script to our translators, we had a Canadian-based translator for us who did our German and Russian and Ukrainian, and so she spoke English, and she's never heard a home brand before, and so there were certain things we had to do that tone down a little bit just so everyone in English got the joke, but at the same time we kept the word nah in there, which I thought was quite Australian. So it was a bit of a balance.
I loved one of the dialogue choices was actually like one of them was NAR, like NAR, and I laughed, and I don't have the context, but I sat there and I was like, yeah, this is, you can tell it was just enough, like it was just enough.
It's funny also, like, knowing you, Sam, like I could just hear your voice through all the jokes in the game. It was awesome.
It's very sweet. Thank you.
So what's next for the two of you is what I'll ask. Doing this, having gone through this 3.5-year process, do you want to do it again? Like, are you storytellers? Are you going to go find another new medium and do that now and maybe make another children's book or what have you? Or are you game devs now? How are you hooked?
What are we?
What are we? We're very much hooked, very much hooked. We want to continue telling stories that have a really big heart and animal focused as well.
Yeah, and someone's already started writing the next one, so that's exciting. We still have a lot of work before we start the next one because we are planning to bring Copycat to consoles very soon. We refuse to touch any of the porting we have all the dev kits sitting in boxes. We refuse to touch them just to concentrate on this PC version. As you know, 2-person kind of team, we don't have much resource to multitask that way. But yeah, now our next step is to bring it to PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. We'll see how it runs on Switch. But yeah.
And the next one will probably change from Unity to Unreal because we want to make it underwater.
Yeah, so with higher graphic fidelity of Unreal offers, it's going to be a beautiful underwater story.
With orca whales.
I like it.
There's
Awesome.
our exclusive. There's our scoop.
Oh, well, I'm available to voice a whale.
Oh, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, we got it for the next one. We all have to be in it now. That's how it has to work.
Sounds like a plan.
Anything else? Do we want to ask anything?
You guys are a 2-person team. But your credits, you've got like a lot of different people in there. Is there anyone you want to shout out or anyone you want to just thank?
Would love to shout everyone. Like, we were so lucky to have such a beautiful team and a beautiful bunch of people. Everyone brought their heart and their soul into the project, from Dan, who's been pretty much like an essential part of the team from day one, to like even people who just spend like 10 minutes testing and finding a bug for us. Everyone played such a significant role. So we want to say big thanks to the whole team, and beyond.
Yeah, and reflecting on it as well, I feel 95% of people in our credits did this for the first time. Our translators had never translated a game. Our voice actors had never voiced a game. Everyone came from like different walks of life. And we feel so lucky that this was the project everyone got to experiment on and try for the first time.
So I wanted to thank you guys just so much for coming on our podcast to speak about your wonderful game. Thank you for having me be even just a small part of this game over the years. It's been such a joy to see it, like, just as a fan of games, just to see it come to life, and from two wonderful people like yourselves. And thank you for putting it out in the world, because I think it is definitely a story that is going to touch so many people. And I think it's like more stories that we need like this in the world, particularly in the Australian game scene. So I think you're doing the best work, and we need to see more of it. So yeah, and thanks again for coming along. We look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Where can people keep up with you online?
I think we're most active on our Twitter with at Game Copycat,
or copycat.game on Instagram. Or you can send us an email as well on Spoonful of Wonder website.
Thank you
All right,
so much.
go play Copycat.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What a great interview. What a great chat. Just some pleasant folks by way of time travel. We know it was a great interview, right, guys?
Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome. Great. A little peek behind the curtain. Recording parts of this podcast at different times. It's complicated. Okay, let's wrap up the show. New Game Plus, Game of the Month, Book Club game. we're playing Star Wars Outlaws for September. So continue to play. Tom, as you said, you're working your way through it. You may have jettisoned yourself to another planet or two. Lauren, where are you at with Star Wars Outlaws right now? How are things going?
I think I'm about to go to a second planet. So I've also
Okay.
have had the galaxy open up for me. I'm about
Okay.
13 hours in. I'm going to be honest, it's been like a slow grind because I thought I would have more time to play games. I don't. Maybe now that I've
That's
moved.
the yeah. Now that you're settled, you can set it up in the living room and just plant yourself there all day long. Yeah, so you can let us know your thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws, our New Game Plus video game book club game of the month, over on Twitter. That's at controller_club, at controller club pod on Instagram, and at controller.club on TikTok. And guess what? If you didn't know, if you're watching us right now, you do know. We are on YouTube. You can watch a video version of this podcast right now with our new YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to Controller Club on YouTube. That is youtube.com/@controller_club to watch the latest episodes, our best segments, as well as various clips from the show over there. Please rate and review us wherever you are listening right now. 5 stars. It really helps out. And if you have any questions, topic ideas, you want to say hello, you can do so through our email. I was doing so well. It's early in the morning. controllerclubpod@gmail.com. Tom Drew, where can people keep up with you and what do you have going on?
Yeah, you can find me at Tom Drew Art on Instagram and Twitter. Hopefully should have some art posted this week. If you're a fan of Cartoon Network, then you'll like it. I've also got, as Klein mentioned, we've got the YouTube channel, so just trying to get content on there. It might be out by the time this episode goes live, but I'm working on a video for the channel. I'll say it's Nintendo themed. It might even have some relation to what we talked about in this episode. But yeah, check it out there.
It's the roommate ranking, right?
That's the one. That was the priority.
That episode's been banished.
I had to get it out.
Lauren, what do you have going on and where can people keep up with you?
You can keep up with me at lrouse19. That is Rouse spelled as in house. I don't have much to plug right now, but obviously we just spoke to the Copycat folks, and I just want to reiterate again that everyone should go out and play this game. I did have a small part in like helping them bring it to life, and so really want to just support them as much as you can. It's only like $20 on Steam, so check it out, go buy it. I think I saw they posted that they were getting as much popularity as God of War Ragnarok on PC, which is so cool and definitely what they deserve. So keep it up for them.
And only one of those games has a cat in it.
That's
Suck
true.
it, Kratos.
You
Suck it.
want to know what God of War has? A scary snake. We don't like those. Those are freaky. You can keep up with me everywhere. I'm at the Kleinfelt, TheKleinFelt. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Controller Club. Thank you for listening. Let's get gaming.